Alright, well, there's an attempt. I think we're recording. Look! A completed page. Well, sort of. We're gonna try and do some actual inking now. Step 1 is to go back into layer 1, whoops, and with our technical pen, let's actually break out where we think the panel borders are. And they're always the last place you look for them. Now hopefully you have fairly good guidelines for where you left your panel borders. This is kind of an open panel, so I'm going to probably do this panel border for the dream sequence. I'm going to do it in the drawing layer rather than the panels layer. The reason I put the panels or the panel borders on their own layer is because you're going to erase over the top of them at some point. It's just inevitable. It's going to happen. So you might as well make it so it doesn't destroy anything or break anything. There we go. But for something like this open panel with the flashback wavy lines, well, I mean, that's part of the art, so I mean, I don't know, maybe we could put it on its own layer. It could go either way. Alright. Oh, and I've got an inset panel. It's another panel border. I have a problem with my inset panel too, because look, it's going to have a superimposed speech bubble. That's okay. The speech bubble will appear on top of it. That's fine. This is one of the rare circumstances in which I am okay with something breaking out of the panel borders. In general, I believe in sticking to the panel borders. Not everyone agrees. Okay, so let's take a look at it. This is what it looks like without any of the art. And we just want to make sure that there's nothing hanging in there. Everything looks like a freestanding panel. This is a tiny little hole that we're going to fix. There we go. So that looks pretty good. Alright. Layer 2. Let's add in ink. This will be our ink layer. And this is where we're going to choose Rusty Nib. I'm going to start with the inset panel, which is right here. And here's where we have to get careful. Now when we drew this, we were not careful. We drew it as quickly as possible. And it shows. That's okay. That's okay. Because none of these lines are going to be there by the time we're done. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to take the pencil layer and we're going to reduce the opacity even further. Make it a little bit lighter. And here's the ink layer. So we've got the eyes. Oops. Let's do without a mouth. Let's do a mouth. She has a line, but is she thinking or is she speaking? It's okay to do a speaking to yourself. Comic book characters often speak to themselves by tradition. That's what happens in comics. You can do the thinking bubble I quite like the thinking bubble myself. There's the underlip. All right. And this is Aura in her energy form. So we want to use thin outline, not a thick one like I drew the pencil part in. Thin outline. A little shadow down there. Collarbones. And so in case you were wondering what it looks like when you take the pencil layer out, it'll look a lot cleaner. Now that you know where all the lines are supposed to be, supposedly, or close to. But it's still, by not doing finished pencils, you allow yourself the opportunity to you know, still be drawing in the ink layer. If you do finished pencils and then your ink is just, you know, over the top of the pencils, you'll loosen dynamism and you'll be closer to tracing. I mean, what's the point? Why don't you just make your pencil layers opaque at that point? Now, the reason you would do it is if you're working in a team. If you're working with a team, you want to make sure that your pencils are translating in such a way that the inker understands, right? That's why you would do that. If you're inking yourself, though, there are other reasons. Maybe you want to sell the inked page, but I guess my my counter to that was do everything digital in pencils, print out multiple versions, ink it several times yourself, and sell that. You could sell it 5 times over. Alright. None of us are Bernie Wrights in here, so it's not like we're going to get $1 million from a page, but you might get a couple $100. Depending. The most beloved comic art of all time is not the overdrawn, super hyper-realistic stuff that we do now. The most beloved comic art of all time is stuff like early Supermans drawn by Joe Shuster, you know? And I'm not saying he was a bad artist. I actually quite love Joe Shuster's cartooning. They were cartoons, though. Okay, so we're gonna put our energy form coming off of her. I think I've gotten her a little bit too elongated. I'm gonna, like, her butt should not be there. I should be like kind of right here. Let's go ahead and take a look. She's talking out loud. Let's give her a slightly open mouth. This is going to sound kind of mean, but that also means that there are no comics that are worth anything that are coming out now. There are no comics that are worth anything that have come out in the last 30 years, 20 years. Anything on that slick paper is worthless. Doesn't matter how much you paid for it. Nobody will want it. Ever. 100 years from now, people are going to be like, yeah, that's nice, but have you got a 70s man thing? You know, it's not going to be like those comics are ever going to be worth anything. So what I'm really saying here is draw like how you draw. Draw like how you want to draw. Draw the way that gets the story across. We're going to do like a... This is her transforming to energy form. She's bursting right out of the confines of the cave. While we're at it, let's go ahead and make a bubbles layer. What is a bubbles layer? Speech bubbles. What that's all about. And in this case, it's a speech bubble, but we could have narrative boxes or narration boxes as well. Let me look at... I'm looking at this edge here on layer 1, but let's go ahead and fix it. All right, bubbles. This is one of those situations where we're superimposing, we're breaking the... There we go. Let's put it in a sort of a bind. And you know what that bind is? What do we do in the background? Well, I think we're saved by the second panel. The second panel is completely a establishing shot. We're going to do scenery and everything. So we'll be okay, I think. I think we could probably do some focus lines. Let's see if there's anything else with focus lines. The deal with focus lines is I don't want to overuse them. And you know what? I don't think this is going to be real minor focus lines just on the edges, so I think we can do focus lines on her. These two can have black backgrounds. So let's do some focus lines, right? We're going to give focus lines their own layer, just in case we mess them up. The drawing guide, we're going to put perspective, focal point, assisted, boom, bada bing, bitty bop, there we go. There it is. All right. And the trick is anything that falls outside of the panel border gets erased, but we're going to cross the panel border as a consequence. So that's why I put it on, putting the panel on its own border is so you can get away with doing stuff like this. Because you're going to cross the panel border, but you're going to erase. Like, I don't want it to be bleeding over into the other panel. And you often hear these called speed lines, but they're not just speed. They're just telling us there's something interesting happening, something exciting happening in this panel. It could be an argument that characters are having, and you could use focus lines. And in case it's not obvious, I'm doing a taper, although it's not been super pronounced. It should be thicker at the end than at the base. Alright, all those are good. So And then it's just a matter of getting rid of anything that fell outside your line. Now there is a smarter, better way to do this, but it takes too long in my opinion, which is to, whoops, they all came back. You can take your panels, once you determine who your panels in, you could flood it with a color, usually white, and then mark that off. So did it again. Mark that off as a like an alpha mask on its own, and nothing you draw outside of the line will actually show. So, but setting up masks like that is too much trouble for a guy like me, and so I eschew it. All right, let's take a look. Looking pretty good. I want a little bit more contrast on her, but I think it's looking okay. Okay, how do we get more contrast on her? We're going to do some of this. These little squigglies are sort of Silver Surfer type effects. Or not really Human Torch type effects, but you know, Human Torch is definitely an influence. Carl Burgos. Carl Burgos is also the person who created the Air Sub DX originally, which, in part anyways, this comic is an homage to. Okay. Good enough to begin. That's 17 minutes. This is the panel that's going to take a long time. The one big panel. Okay, it's all jungle stuff. So we want to do the close objects first, then we'll get to the figure. There we go. I could probably stand to look up some reference for... Here we go. Jungle Scene Kubert. Joe Kubert. Definitely one of my favorites. Not just for Tarzan, which he's well known for doing Tarzan, but also Rima the Jungle Girl. Another of his. And Tor, another of his. We can do some long frond type trees. The most important stuff is the stuff that goes in the front. It's got to have the thicker line weights, etc. I will be in comics class at the Joe Kubert School starting in January. It's an online class, but it's one I'm very much looking forward to. Let's use these kind of plants right here. So I have a feeling we're not going to get through this whole thing before we get to 30 minutes or so. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's starting to... Don't worry about the speech bubbles. The bubble will take care of anything that gets written over. Where's our horizon line? This is our horizon line right about here. So we're going to put just some marks here. And then there's this other line, which I call the tree line. It's the line of trees in the background. I figured a pretty cool watercolor technique I learned in inking. Let's see, I'm gonna make this slightly bigger. But if you want to do like a really leafy background, you can be kind of random about it as long as you have nice sharp corners. There we go. These lines are too thick. Thin them up a little bit. Okay. At some point when I was drawing them, I hinted that this is my vanishing point right here. So I'll say it's the last point right there. That means stuff behind. It's going to be thin lines, thin line weight. Not much detail, but then progressively greater detail, darker, thicker lines as you get closer up. You can even put some, let's put some lichens, oops, on this tree. And what these lichens are saying, they're saying like and subscribe to my channel. All right. Oops. Okay. Why do we go with these thick outlines? Because this branch is in front of all the other branches, so we want to go a little bit thicker. Maybe not as thick as I went. I think I might have overdone it here. Here and there. Also, the texture of the leaves also has to change. Maybe the shape of the leaves. They could be different kinds of trees. Each tree has its own unique leaf shape. Something like that. Pull the pencil off, figure out where we're going wrong. Alright. Oops. And let's do some hanging moss as well. Now, you do want to avoid making it too busy, which I don't know if I've done, so I might have to go through and take some details out. But I think we got somewhere. We got somewhere. Alright. Okay, this is probably enough for me for right now. Please like, follow, and subscribe. There's going to be more comics every day. And more adventures of Corbeau, and after Corbeau there will be another comic. We're just going to keep this going for a long time. I think we have enough to even start on the figure, so next episode we'll put this figure in as she's flying up out of the jungle, out of the ground. Wherever she was captured before in the previous page, she's no longer captured. Alright, how does it look without the pencils again? I think it's looking good. I'm starting to specialize in jungle. I'm going to be the guy that draws jungles. Alright. There's jungle in the, not the most recent Prometheus powers, but the one before that one is all jungle as well. Well, it's taking place in the same place. Pellucidar. Part of my world that has jungle is where a lot of the action seems to take place for my comics. I can even go in and make some of these solid black shapes. Let's do this, just to see how it looks. I think that's okay. Alright, see you later.